Well, now our next guest, Mr. Trevor Keenan, one of our first ever tournament that we covered with the SpikeNet. He was already an all-star and now coaching at UCF. So we want to welcome Mr. Trevor Keenan to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending your Saturday here at a volleyball event after coaching volleyball. Tell us about how's life going at UCF?
It is great, man. I appreciate you guys having me on here. I was pretty pumped for this all day. You guys know I got here early and was hanging out. So life's been great. I got married this year, so that was fun. That was fun. So she's also from Florida, so we're both Florida folk, and so it was nice to get her back down.
He is not single, ladies.
As well, yeah, not single. But life's good, man. We just bought a house here, and so just loving it, being back down here, and doing our thing now at UCF. It's been a lot of fun. So
you're a Florida native?
I am a Florida native. I grew up on the west coast of Florida, in a mile-long little beach town called Reddington Beach. So grew up there. Started playing on the beach when I was about 8 years old, and so started doing that. And it's kind of a funny story. I don't know if I'm going off tangent here, off rip, but I was out, and my dad played volleyball, not very well, by the way, for all you that wanted to know. He was not great. He'll probably tell you he was great, but he was not great. So went out there with some of him and his friends, and we're just shagging the balls. And that's all we were allowed to do. We were probably 8 or 9 years old. And so we get out there, and, it's like me and 3 other young boys just running around. And, we try to underhand serve it every once in a while, just messing around. And the dads were like, no, you guys can go over on that court and play. And so finally one day they let us get out there and hit it around a little bit. And that was that, man. So just from that point on, just started playing on the beach. And so just fell in love with volleyball from that point.
Just for perspective, how many club teams back at that time? Because I remember when I came to play here, there was only like 2 clubs you could play for in Florida.
Orlando Gold,
Orlando Gold, Mojo.
Orlando Gold and Mojo. And so I'm like 2 hours originally away from this point, and so I was over, and I actually did not play club volleyball until 12, which for boys is still super young.
Mm-hmm. Super.
And I know Puerto Rico, it's probably a little bit different. Yeah. Like it's a lot younger, and over there kids get started. But for us, it was super young to be 12, and so I actually started at Heat, Pinellas Heat, who's here. I saw them today, and so we were the one boys team there at 12s, and it was incredible. It was a hodgepodge of people. It was something else. And so, yeah, for perspective, we were, I don't know how many courts are here, 140. We were the 4 courts in the corner, right, for 12s to 18s were those 4 courts.
You didn't need much else.
Yeah, and that was it. And we were just happy to be in the convention center. So it was good. It was good.
I want to give before we keep going, a shout out to your dad. Your dad was one of the first fans of the SpikeNet, so Mr. Keenan, shout out. You were awesome, and you were always like, "Oh, you guys are awesome." He always supporting us. So we miss him, watching him in the court. Every time we went to the All-Stars and you were playing, we were like, Mr. Keenan, and he always had something positive to say. So we got a lot of love for the Keenan family.
Yeah, man, he's quite the guy, and I know that he is definitely a big fan of the SpikeNet. So it's fun.
Now you were talking about where you play, how many courts you have, and looking now the growth of the men's sport. How does it feel to be a part of it, and especially here in Florida?
Yeah, the growth of the men's game is incredible. And so when I came back down here, when I got the job at UCF last January, I think it was our first time. It was my first time out on the road recruiting last January at the MLK event, I believe, here in Orlando. And I walked in, and obviously here was recruiting for the women's game, but I walked in, and half the convention center was boys, and I was appalled. It was insane. And so just from that perspective, it was super cool to see just the growth of youth volleyball, especially in Florida, who, and I think we're going to talk about this, but like I went to George Mason, which is up in Northern Virginia, which was the closest Division I school to my house down here in Florida. And so when you grow up and you talk to people outside the state of Florida, and they're like, man, how does no school in Florida have Division I men's volleyball? And I know that there's men's volleyball now starting in Florida, which is amazing. Um, but just kind of that growth in the state, but also like you said, nationally and internationally, it's already a huge game. And so I think the U.S. is taking steps towards that, and hopefully will continue to get better and evolve. But yeah, especially right now in the state of Florida, even just the amount of boys volleyball that's here in Orlando is pretty amazing. And like we talked about, when I started or when we started playing, it was Orlando Gold, Mojo. I think that's it in the Orlando area. And now every club is boys and girls. And so it's just super cool.
If you went to play for a bid in Daytona, it was like you played Orlando
Oh.
Gold 1, Orlando
Yeah,
Gold
I
2, Mojo 1, Mojo 2, and then that's
That's
a
it.
bracket.
That was it. And so that you go to a tournament and it's funny because we travel around, and obviously at this point, and as we get in my later years, 16, 17s, whatever it is, like you play at the Florida regional qualifier, and it's like, okay, we're gonna play Orlando Gold in the finals. Like it just
Right.
it didn't matter. Like it really didn't
Right.
matter because luckily enough we had a good team, and so we kind of knew that we were gonna be in that spot. But it was like, okay, yep, we're playing those guys at the finals, and you knew that before the weekend even started. So,
You always play libero or?
I did, and I am so thankful for that. Hitting, man, hitting's for the birds. If there is a position in volleyball, this is my hot take here, position in volleyball that you could be the libero but also block, that's me.
All right.
That's all I want to do.
Master block or hitter?
Yeah, I just want to block, and I want to play libero.
Defensive specialist, huh?
Yeah, defensive specialist that just blocks. Don't set me the ball. I don't want to hit. No transition for me.
Now I get why your dad didn't let you hit.
That's
back
right.
then.
Yeah.
That's
That's
right.
probably what kept you from being a good hitter.
Start from the
Probably.
beginning.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, even when I played out on the beach, it was just like, like 1, 2, little shot. Never swung. Never swung. So, yeah, I always played libero. I also was probably 5'7", 5'8" until my junior year of high school, and then I grew to probably 6'2". So, yeah.
With shoes on.
Yeah, with shoes on.
Yeah.
You never
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
You never play other sports. Only volleyball.
No, I played other sports. So growing up, played baseball. I played catcher, and I think that's where a lot of my hip problems came from. I had 2 hip surgeries while I was at George Mason, and so I think was that and kind of the growing pains. But I played baseball, played catcher till I was about 12, and the game was just way too slow. Even with me catching the ball and touching the ball every play, I was like, this is boring. And I think that's another reason I love volleyball is every play is different. Even if it's passed by the same person, set by the same person, and attacked by the same person, the play is totally different. And so I think that was kind of the lure of volleyball to me. But I also played soccer, which was probably my best sport when I was younger. But I hated the running. I was like, running's too much, man. I'm good.
I like the breaks in the middle
Yeah.
of the point.
Yeah. I was like, I'm good. And then actually, I didn't have high school volleyball. We tried to get high school volleyball, and it went to the school board, and it got voted on, and got voted 15-1. No.
No.
Yeah. Our principal was the one yes. But that opened opportunities for me. Obviously, I was playing club at the time, but it opened opportunities for me to play high school tennis and high school golf. So
Golf is a good skill to have.
golf's
Business.
great.
Yeah, you
now
can
it's,
talk business.
Now it's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
This is the best skill.
That's what I mean. It was great. Now, obviously, I wasn't very good at golf, but it was great just to get out and do different sports. And so, I'm a huge proponent of youth athletes playing all different sports. And I think whether you're good or you're bad, I think just playing different sports gives you different perspectives on different coaching styles and how you want to be coached and how you can, grow in that sport, but also just grow as an athlete. And obviously, you're using different muscles. You're using, different IQ. Different games have different different
Strategy.
layers to it.
Yeah, strategy. I want to talk to you a little bit, and if you can, like, find that out. You talk about your two hips injury, but before that, you got famous on SpikeNet by getting concussed.
Look at
Can
that.
you tell us what
Yeah.
is behind that? And look at that hair, man.
Look at that
Look at
hair.
the
Not this
flow.
receding hairline anymore.
Wow.
Man. Yeah, so that was 2017 maybe, and that's obviously a Team Florida alum, and so got a lot of love for Team Florida and all that. But that's me and Danny Hermida there. I don't even know. Can't tell you what part of the match it was. Can't tell you much.
Why you don't remember?
Yeah, why I don't remember, I don't know. But yeah, we went diving on the floor. I think I went for a pancake. He was in middle back, came after, and his head hit the back of my head, and my face hit the floor. And you can't see in this picture, but I had braces then. And so I vaguely remember my braces being stuck to my gums. And it was a whole scene. I know you guys were there, but like I got stretchered out. It was a whole thing. Yeah, it was down in Fort Lauderdale.
I
And
made it an instant classic.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh,
like it was like
classic. And of course, you mentioned my dad, and so of course he's there, and so he's like sitting in the front of the ambulance because it's like a 5-minute ambulance ride over to the hospital over in Miami where they took me. But no, it was that was definitely a time.
Can you tell us a little bit about that experience with the All-Star program?
Yeah, definitely something that I will remember for my whole life, especially just from a volleyball perspective. And obviously, I knew most of the guys on that team, like we talked about, is they were probably on my team or the 2 or 3 other teams in the state. So that part was really fun, just to compete with them and compete against the best states, the best regions, and different in the country. And so that was a really fun time. And I probably can't talk about a couple moments that we had at the All-Star event on this podcast, but it was
what makes it the best
yeah,
experience.
yeah. It was a great time. There was a couple broken lamps in the hotel room, playing a little bed volleyball. I think something that the Florida region probably had to pay a little bit for. So there was a couple of those moments, but it was an amazing experience. Just being there that week, and you're playing against future college teammates and different guys that are going to college as well. And so it was probably the highest level that you were going to get in your high school, I don't know, your high school career was that week. And so it was fun. It was definitely a
I
good
think
time.
for sure it opens the door to that college level. Like you're playing those 5-set matches, 2 matches a day, so you start feeling the pains of like once you go over to college, that's every weekend.
Yeah, and I can't imagine playing 2 matches a day.
I say that all the time. I do not picture myself playing 2
Yeah,
matches.
I'm here, and I'll recruit at these tournaments, and I'm just like, you got 3 matches, and then there's a crossover later that evening, and I'm just like, what are we doing? Like it just seems like way too much. But no, 100%, the 5 sets is way different than what you experience in club. So definitely.
And then that made you, and then transition to college. You joined George Mason. How was that recruiting process for a boy?
Oh man, another good story upcoming here about my dad, of course. So Jay Hosick,
Shout out Jay.
Shout out
yeah,
Jay.
shout out Jay. That's our guy. But he will tell this story, and I guess it's true. I can't tell you if it's true or not. But I was recruited to George Mason through my dad because my dad would send Jay videos like my highlight tape on Facebook Messenger. And so Jay and Stephanie, his wife, are just sitting there like on the couch, and Jay's like, we were sitting there on the couch, and finally we were like, all right, like this dad just keeps blowing us up. Let me at least watch the kid. And then he like watched and was like, oh, you know what? He's actually pretty decent. Whatever. And so ended up getting recruited from there. But that is not a recruiting tip that I would have for anybody. That is not the way to do it. I feel like
if you
That
want
wasn't the
your
old
daughter
time.
to be recruited, send them DMs on his.
Yeah,
Send the coaches DMs.
please do not. I do not recommend that. That is definitely not the way to do it. but yeah, that recruiting, it looks a lot different in the men's game, or at least it did, whatever, 7, 8 years ago now. Um, now in the women's game, everybody talks about June 15th, and that's when you can start talking to these student athletes. But back then, we were already that age, and so it was just like, he'd come up after the tournament, and you'd just be standing there, and it's just chatting with the coach and everything like that. And so I took a couple visits to some other places that I won't name on here, but went out there, and I I didn't like it. And and you talk about it in the recruiting process, and there's different stuff of like, when you're gonna know. And so when I went out to those places, it just didn't feel right. Just from a team perspective and different stuff. And so I then went up to George Mason and immediately was like, man, this is the place for me. And Brian wasn't there anymore,
It
unfortunately,
was
but
too old.
they laid a good foundation, and it was a great experience. I would recommend it to anybody. But yeah, and then went on a visit there, and I think I committed while I was there. I don't know. Maybe I called Jay afterwards and was like, "Hey man, I'm in." But yeah, no, it was definitely a different experience than I think what athletes experience now. But
I think
it was fun.
like what you were saying for athletes too, not to focus so much in their, so to speak, dream school, because like that feeling of when like there's nothing like going into a school, getting to know the guys or the girls, and being like, I'm gonna spend the next 4 years with this crew.
Yeah.
Because like you said, I went to other visits where I was like, oh, maybe not.
Yeah, and I think that's real, and the reality of it is in the women's game right now, if you don't go to camp, everybody's kind of already committed by a time that you could take an official visit. And so it's getting a feel for what that program's doing and kind of how they're trending. And now with the transfer portal, which was not a thing
Like them.
at all, like it
Right.
wasn't even an option.
Right.
Like you were just like, oh yeah, I'm going here, and if this doesn't work out, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know. And so now you got to look at some of those things, but also with the staff that you're going to play for. And so I think that's super important, because we'll joke around and say this is, we spend way too much time with each other on both ways,
Right.
athlete coach athlete, to not enjoy each other's
Definitely.
presence and company.
Right.
Like, we spend way too many hours together that you're just like,
And that's something that I really admire from the George Mason program with Stephanie too. That she gets involved and she does
Cooking
the
classes.
cooking classes.
Oh, yeah.
Which started after I left, by the way. So
oh
I'm
yeah,
kinda-
Brian's upset.
I'm upset
Brian's
at Stephanie
upset.
because I could have used some cooking
Yeah,
classes.
I will say we didn't have that many cooking classes, so the guys are really getting spoiled now. So I'll also have a gripe on that too. But we got a couple meals. Those guys now, I think, are monthly cooking classes.
No, but definitely that's something that I remember when Omar was. And by the way, Mason has a bunch of it's like a feeder from Florida. Omar was the same thing. It was like they they asked us and they were like, Mason is like a family. Every time you go there, you feel like you're visiting a family member, and the way that you guys stay in touch with you got like together, and the conversations. Every time like Malayas go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
You
guys.
remember Chris Allen?
Oh yeah.
Chris Allen showed up not knowing it was not a weekend visit, and he goes to open gym. We thought he was a recruit. We had no idea. So we're like, okay, man, come in, sit down. And then he's like, I love this. I want to come here. And then we talked to Jay. Jay's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I don't know. This dude just sat in open gym and loved it. He's like, oh, great job, guys. I was like, cool. But it really is. And like, even Omar, I don't want to speak for him, but even Omar, when he reached out, he was looking into bigger schools like USC, all this kind of stuff. And my answer was like, dude, just go there, get a feel for it, and then you will know your answer.
Yep.
And I think, getting there and seeing the scenery and how it goes, it really changed for him.
Yeah, and I'll speak for Omar here. Is Omar was on my club team, so I've known Omar since he was 14. And yeah, I think, again, like a lot of us that go to George Mason, is you get on campus and you get a feel for the guys, and that definitely changes a lot of your decision, because I know that I don't know a ton of people on this podcast know, but the men's game has way less scholarships
Yep.
than the women's game does. And so a lot of it is not about money from that perspective, and especially now with so much changing in the NCAA, but um, it's more about feel and fit and different things. And so he definitely was somebody.
I remember we traveled in
Oh, man.
smaller bands. It wasn't a bus.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough that we were buses,
you skipped that
until
part.
we were on the road. Until we were on the road, and there was some good van
See,
stories.
you're welcome.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
yeah. Thank you, thank you.
And then you decided to stay there, and then coach at UVA.
I did, yeah. So I decided to stay up in Virginia. Funny enough, another Mason alum actually got me connected there. Chris Grunwald. He was an alum from the '80s, and so he was the associate head coach at UVA at the time. And so I went into Jay's office and was just like, "Hey, man, thinking about getting into this whole coaching thing, and so." Can you reach out to your people, whatever, and because the volleyball world's so big, but so small.
Yeah.
And so it's just about the people that you know. And so he reached out to a bunch of people, and obviously Chris being a Mason guy, he was like, "Hey man, like 2 hours down the road is this guy, played at Mason, blah blah blah, and had a great career so far." And so ended up going down there to be the volunteer assistant for a year. And then the rules changed in the NCAA, and so ended up getting hired on as the third assistant there. And so spent 3 seasons there, and it really grew me as a coach. Obviously, that was my first job, and so really appreciate all that Shannon and Chris and everybody did there for me. But it was a great experience. But I think for my wife and I, just coming back to Florida was always the goal. And so when this head job, the UCF head job opened up, I absolutely knew I wasn't getting it. I didn't even try, obviously. But I was like, hey, whoever gets hired there, if they're a good person, good coach, like would absolutely love to go there. And so it ended up working out again through Chris, who was no longer at UVA with me, but he was kind of a mentor to our associate head coach here. And so anyway, we got connected and lucky enough to get down here and be back and coaching in Florida.
And how is it to be now at UCF and now with all that you mentioned, all the rule change and everything, how's recruiting? You guys, your program is well, I don't
Pretty
know,
consistent,
pretty
pretty good. Yeah,
consistent.
yeah.
Yeah.
Going to the games too is a cool experience. So if you haven't,
It's a nice gym.
I love that
It
gym.
is.
It's not that big. It's not that small. It's a perfect site for volleyball.
It
You
is
can
the venue.
Yeah.
The venue is what it's called, and it's great. It's kind of similar to the rack
Right.
Yeah,
I was gonna
at,
say
at George Mason, and so I definitely have a liking to the smaller, more intimate facilities. But yeah, we pack it out, and it's a fun place to play. And if you're us, I think it is a little harder to play if you're the opponent coming down to play us. And so, but yeah, it has been great, and like we talked about, and we could sit here for 3 hours and talk about the ever changing landscape of college athletics. But I will say, as the game is evolving, we are turning more and more like professional sports. And whether you see that as a good or bad thing, I think that's what it's becoming. And I think it's amazing. And it all started when the NIL stuff started, and so name, image, likeness, whatever, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and it's kind of evolved now to the revenue sharing and everything else. And so it is pretty cool to be in a position where our sport right now is getting so much attention, whether that's viewership, but also like the funding from administrations. And so it is pretty cool because for so long it's football, men's basketball, and then women's basketball. And I think now volleyball has kind of taken over, or is taking over that women's basketball spot as being the premier, like, flagship women's program in a lot of college athletics. And definitely I think the case at UCF. So it's been really fun. The recruiting hasn't really changed a ton for us. We still are.
No Fables message anymore.
Huh?
Not Facebook message
No
anymore.
Facebook messages
Yeah,
anymore.
no.
No.
No more Facebook messages. Yeah, if I get those, I don't really look at them. But yeah, it hasn't really changed kind of what we do from being at these tournaments and just evaluating talent, but also, then talking to their club coach, recruiting coordinators, whatever that is, and just are they a good person? Would they fit in with our team and different stuff like that. So
I think you touched briefly now, but can you give us like 3 tips of like if you're trying to get recruited by UCF, what you should do and what you should don't? And can you say it for the player and for the parents too? Like
what you shouldn't do is Facebook Messenger. Uh,
number one.
Number one, no Facebook Messenger. Um, no, and I think I'm not even so much even just recruiting to UCF, but I think just recruiting in general is we had mentioned it earlier, but everybody's got their dream school, which could be UCF, it could be whatever school, um, but it is still, is that the right fit for me? And I guess I'm gonna go on a tangent here, but the first tip that I would give to any youth athlete, boy, girl, whatever it is, in any sport, is what do you want out of your college experience? Do you want to play all 4 years? Are you good to sit a year and play 3? Do you need a scholarship? Do you need this? Do you want to be in a city? Do you want to be in a college town? Do you want to? So, I think there's got to be that first, and because I'll tell you, there's a lot of, I guess you could quote unquote blue blood volleyball schools that would be glad to take somebody as their 18th kid on the team. You're probably not going to play much.
Right.
But if you're good with that, that may be a great fit
Right.
for you. But if you want to play from the start, maybe look at a place where you're maybe getting communication from that coach of, hey, I could see some playing time early from you, and different things like that. So that would be number one. Number two would just be a good human. As silly as that sounds, there is a lot of people across the country that, like, we'll talk to that club coach and it's just like, hey, like there's some red flags here with this person, whether that may be, fights with teammates, fights with different people, or just kind of hard to get along with, or not really coachable. I think that's another big one is, being coachable and being able to learn, is really big in the college game, because the jump, even open level club to Division One Power Four college, is a massive,
Totally different game.
massive
Yeah.
difference. And so with anybody, there's always going to be that change. And then the third one would just be, I'm gonna go with the fourth one too. That's gonna be funny. A third one for me would just be, make sure that the schools that you're interested in know that you're interested. I don't think that you need to do it like every day, every week, but I think every once in a while, just touching base, following up, just like, hey, if you get a camp invitation, like, hey, thank you for sending that to me, blah, 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 looking at signing up, whatever that may be. On top of that, it's my little funny one here, but it's real. It is 100% real. Do not send college coaches your schedule every single day. So we've got this cool thing called University Athlete. So you need to update your University Athlete account if you don't already. But we see your schedule right on our phone. And so that's what all college coaches are doing around at these tournaments when we're staring at our phone. We're not texting all the time. But we got your schedule. And so the next day, as soon as your day ends, we can refresh it and we've got your schedule already. So in between days, don't feel like you need to go home, rush home,
Make a little graphic.
get an email.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I saw that trend lately.
Yeah.
And I love and I'm like, what are they?
Yeah, we've been getting tagged a lot.
Yeah,
And to me, it was weird because we didn't grow up with that. It was,
Yeah. Oh, no.
I do have a question. So obviously I coach for a little bit, and parents are super obsessed with being in the ones team, even when it's not convenient for their daughter or son. Can you, as a college coach, just kind of break down that you don't need to be in a ones team to kind of be looked at?
You absolutely do not need to be on a ones team. And I think that's the cool thing, again, about where we are right now in volleyball is there's so many kids that are from maybe a smaller town, or you're from a huge city, and there's so many good kids that maybe, and again, this goes back to my recruiting for college, but also it happens, and it needs to happen in club. Like, do you want to be maybe the 12th kid on your club team that never plays, but you're on the ones team?
Right.
Or do you want to be the kid that never comes off the floor, and you're crushing it on the twos team? And to a college coach, makes no difference.
Right.
At least for me, I'll speak for myself, but it makes no difference. If we think that you're good enough to play for us, it does not matter if you play on the fours team. It's just how much of an impact do you make on your team, whether that's volleyball skill, whether that's just how much you impact your team from
Being
all
a
the
good
other
teammate, yeah.
from all the other stuff. So yeah.
You got any other questions?
How much time do we got already?
We got
I'm
31 minutes.
I'm probably
31?
over time.
31, dude. We're
I'm
crushing it.
I'm probably over time here.
You know, when we
So-
started, we were saying like we're gonna do 10 to 15 minutes. We haven't 25. It's been the lowest. It goes fast. It's pretty cool.
No, it does. It does go fast, and we could talk all
Right.
day.
Any plans to potentially coach in the men's side at some point?
Jay,
Ah!
he's coming. For
Jay,
it.
he's coming.
No. Probably not. I think unless it continues to grow, and I think for me, it's just about opportunity of where you can coach.
Right. It's
I'm
very limited.
I'm a Florida guy,
Yeah.
so
You should coach the All-Star team. You should talk to Kurt and be a part of the
Right.
of the All-Star team and
Yeah,
give it back.
That'd be cool.
yeah, I'd love to. I would love to. And so yeah, I think if the right opportunity came about and it was something like that, but I think right now I'm very happy on the women's side.
It's a fair point. It's very limited. I mean,
Yeah, it's super limited still to this day, and I think it is already
Right.
grown so much. And so just from that perspective, definitely happy on the women's side. So
Trevor, how can we reach you, contact you,
well,
media?
yeah, don't. Again, no Facebook Messenger.
For recruiting purposes.
My Instagram handle is _sand_flea. So the sand flea. Another
very
another
professional. By
No,
the
no,
way.
super. My wife is so pissed that I still have that name. She's like, "What are you gonna change that?" I was like, "Never."
Never.
Never.
Just stick with it.
That started when I was like 8 years old, out on the beach, and I would just be covered in sand. And somebody called me Sand Flea once, and so I was making an Instagram, and I was like,
Perfect.
Sand Flea sounds cool. So it's been that my entire time I've had Instagram. But yeah, other than that, follow us, UCF Volleyball. That's the handle on Instagram, and you can go to UCF Volleyball website and check us out there, or come to a match at the venue. But no, it's been fun. It's been fun, and I appreciate you guys having me on.
It's been good to see you, turn into this person that sounds so serious. It's always good to see people grow up. So
No, it's
thank you.
good.
Thank you for being here.
It's good. Yeah, appreciate it.
Shout out Trevor. Thanks for stopping by.
Shout out SpikeNet.